I have some unpopular opinions about AI. Let's get into it. So welcome to David Linthicum is Not AI. I'm Dave, an AI SME and an AI skeptic, looking at AI with a balanced perspective. Let's get started. So the reason I did this video is I had some questions about me being more of a contrarian in the world of AI, which is weird because I don't think I'm a contrarian where you're just responding reflexively to opinions that other people have. But really kind of calling balls and strikes as to what this technology can do and also what it can't do. And when the industry, which I believe it is now, getting way over their skis in terms of the hype and representing the value of this technology in ways that I think are a little bit disingenuous, and probably because people don't understand the technology as well as they should. So here are, 5 opinions that I have that a lot of people view as unpopular. We'll get into it. So first, and one that I probably talk about every week to somebody, Agentic AI is currently more hype than enterprise-ready reality with meaningful large-scale deployments that are still scarce. I did a whole video of this on my other channel, and I'll go ahead and put it up here. And the reality is that I think people are not as far with Agentic AI, I think, as the tech press and the analysts are kind of leading you to believe, because obviously they're getting money from the tech providers. The tech providers want everybody to begin to use Agentic AI as much as they can because they've invested like crazy in it over the last couple of years and certainly have hyped the heck out of it, but they're not seeing the uptake. And the reality is Agentic AI is not for everything. In other words, there's very few use cases where it's going to be of value, and picking those use cases and finding those use cases is going to be hard. The other thing, Agentic AI is very expensive. In other words, it's probably 10 times the amount of money than a traditional application development counterpart in building an Agentic AI system. It's more cost more to operate, operational complexity, obviously with these multi-agent systems, that kind of stuff. I don't think people really kind of understand that in terms of the realities of the business. And so deployments are scarce. We're going to see an increasing number, but I don't think we're going to see the scale that the tech industry is calling for right now. And leading to that, and kind of on the same topic, rushing into Agentic AI without a clear value roadmap is an expensive trap that wastes time, money, and resources. I'm seeing this a lot. Obviously MIT, announced, I think it's probably 6 months old at this time, 95% of the AI projects are failing. And I would say with the agentic realm, it's probably higher than that. And the reality is that enterprises are rushing at it without a plan. In other words, how they're going to use it, how it's going to add value, and the kind of problems that they're looking to solve. They just kind of take a knee-jerk reaction and start building things using generative and obviously now agentic AI that may use generative or not. And that's obviously a huge mistake. You got to have a strategy. You got to figure out what the purpose of this technology is going to be. And the big thing is you got to have money, because this stuff is going to be expensive. And you're finding that many of the CIOs out there that are asking to move to AI, whether it's generative or agentic deployments, things like that, they just don't have the resources to do it. They're looking at the price tag, and it's many times what they thought it was going to be. And therefore for them it's a no-go. And that's what we're seeing in the market right now. Next, most organizations will get better ROI from simpler pragmatic AI like predictive analytics and recommendations than from flashy agentic AI bets right now. I can't stress this enough. In other words, everybody's swinging for the fences, whether it's building these huge complex agentic AI systems or building these huge complex generative AI systems that are, at the scale of the many of the LLM providers out there. They're trying to build things like ChatGPT for a bank. Way too expensive, way too complex. They don't have the talent and definitely don't have the money. So what we're likely to see are going to be smaller, more tactically focused projects, typically leveraging small language models. We're not going to see these big, swing for the fences where we're, getting into this massively strategic system, that's going to cost many millions of dollars to get it deployed and operating. We're going to get into small tactical deployments, inventory optimization, logistics optimization systems, analytics planning, things like that, that are not going to have these draw-dropping capabilities, but they're going to have enough AI capabilities that are going to add value to the business. And by the way, they take 3 to 6 months to build. They're not going to take 3 to 6 years to build like many of these other systems. And by the way, they cost just a few $1 million. They don't cost hundreds of $1 millions like these other systems people are looking to build. And I think it's going to be a healthy thing. In fact, when I'm teaching my Agentic AI architect students, I talk about this all the time. that you really should hone your skills for building these smaller, more tactical deployments because people can find value quickly. Obviously, it's not strategically affecting the entire business, but you build enough of these, it's basically a lot of battles winning a larger war. Next would be widespread AI ROI is still rare and unevenly distributed, largely because many enterprises lack the budget, talent, and data foundations required to succeed. So the metric for success with AI is like any other system you build or any other architecture that you do. It's the ability to bring value back to the business. That's the metric. It's not that it works. I can make everything work if I have enough money, but it works at a ROI that the business can enjoy either right away or very soon. And that is the definition of success. And if we use that definition of success and you look at many of the AI projects out there, they're not succeeding. And many of them are experimental. You know, they're going to admit it. We're just trying it, using it, seeing what it does, things like that. But rare are the returns that are out there. So when I'm asked to audit projects and looking at success or failure of different, AI efforts that are occurring in the enterprise space with my clients, they're almost always failing. And they're almost always failing because they didn't understand the core metrics of success. If you spend $10 million to build an AI system, say an agentic AI system, and it's only going to return $1 million a year, that's a failure. That's going to be a deficit in the ROI. You're not getting money, you're not getting value back from those things. Now, if it has some sort of a strategic value to it, where it's going to provide better customer interaction and better upsell because it's a recommendation engine, things like that, that's definitely value. But most of the systems out there are not getting to that realm of value yet. They're just early days, baby steps that many of these enterprises are taking with AI. Of course, AI has been around since the 50s, but many enterprises have just hit the accelerator on AI, generative AI and agentic AI in the last 4 years. And so they're still new to it. They don't have people around who understand it. I think there's a huge amount of confusion in the industry right now as to what success looks like. And most of the ROI that I see is just not there yet. Not always. There's some successes out there, but they're very few and far between. Next, cloud-based AI is difficult mainly because enterprise data quality, governance, and skills gaps are real blockers, even when cloud providers, make it look straightforward. The big problem with cloud ROI is that it's going to be so expensive. Cloud's obviously the easy button. I've said this a bunch of times for AI because it's an environment, an ecosystem that you can use through a rental arrangement that's on demand. So everything's there. The training systems, the inference systems, management, model tuning, all that stuff is there as a service. And so, okay, great. That's going to be the path of least resistance. That's where we go. But all of those services, if you buy them through a public cloud provider, they're typically going to be very expensive, as much as 2 to 3 times that of some alternatives, such as the private cloud-based AI systems, or, maybe some open source AI system that runs on hardware that you bought yourself and maintain yourself. And so that's where the issue comes in, because, ultimately, the cost is going to be a huge roadblock for that. The next would be the big one would be, data quality and governance. So the data in many of these enterprises is not in good shape. And the reality, like I talk about in my generative AI architecture class a lot, the data has to be in good hygienic shape for it to be of value as training data for an AI system, whether you're using it as a small language model or a large language model, you're augmenting a large language model with your information, with your local data. That's going to be key to the success of any of these systems. In other words, your business data and the ability for an AI system to use it as a force multiplier for the system so it knows who you are and what you do and where the AI can add value with your data is going to be key to success. But if you look at many of the enterprises out there, their data is in awful shape, and it's going to take a couple of years to get their data reinvented. That's why many of the AI projects are stopping in their tracks, because the enterprises are seeing that they're not working with the quality of data assets that they have within the enterprise, so they're going to have to go back and fix the data. And they've been kicking that can down the road for the last 20 years. And unless you fix the data, the AI is absolutely not going to bring any value. In fact, it's going to bring confusion and cause more problems, that you're going to have to pay for. Well, anyway, let me know in the comments if you guys have any unpopular opinions or maybe ones I missed, and let me know if you like this content or not. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check out my other videos on this channel. Also, check out my InfoWorld Cloud Computing blog, my 100+ LinkedIn learning courses, and of course, my generative AI architecture course out on Go Cloud Careers. And finally, my latest books, Unlocking the Power of Cloud and An Insider's Guide to Cloud Computing. So until next week, stay very, very safe. The magical YouTube algorithm thinks this is another one of my videos that you should watch next. Take care, guys.